Hi everybody, welcome to Puddinwood Avenue. My name is Bindi. Let's see what today's project entails, shall we? So today we're going to make some simple little socks. I'm going to be using a number 6 weight yarn. I'm not sure what brand or type this is. I actually picked this up in a mill ends bag of mill ends at Spotlight a couple of weeks ago, and I just really thought I like the color way of this yarn. It's a nice thick, it's either a chunky 5 or a bulky 6, and I'm going to use that. You need a pair of scissors, a stitch marker, a yarn needle with a large hook, large eye, so that we can fit the yarn through when we're sewing at our ends. And I'm going a little fancy today. Today I'm using my Furls hook. It's a H or a number 6 millimeter, and so that's what we're working with today. So let's get started. We're going to start, let me put these over here. We're going to start with a magic ring or a magic circle. Now, lots of people panic about doing this and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't do it, I can't work it out. The simplest way I've found is it's just a slip stitch, a slip knot that you start with and never crochet to attach your yarn to your hook. So it's just the same as a slip knot, except you don't tighten up your loop. So here's my easy way. So I'm going to make my loop the same as I would for my slip knot, yarn through, oh my goodness, hook through my yarn, pull it through, and I've got my loop. I'm not going to tighten it up. I'm actually going to chain one, and that's going to lock it into place. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to single crochet 11 single crochets, crochet set 11 single crochets. Oh my goodness, get your act together, Bindi. What are you doing today? I'm going to put 11 single crochets into this ring. So it's as simple as putting your yarn through the ring, capturing your yarn and pulling it through, yarn over, and single crochet. Now, just so that I get into the habit of this, and I'm really bad at doing this, if you've watched me previously, you will know that I'm pretty bad at remembering to put my slip stitches in. But because we're working in the round, it's really important that that's what we're doing. So I'm going to put my stitch marker into my first stitch that I've done. And it's also going to stop me from getting confused from working into that chain one that we did. Okay, so I'm going to do, so that's one, I'm going to do 10 more single crochets, 10 more into the ring, so 1, 2, keep them nice and loose, 3, 4, this yarn might be a little bit fluffy, 5, 6, let's hope that I don't have to frog anything. So I'm just going to pull that tight. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I did a double crochet there, didn't I? 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So we've been working over that loose tail, and that's going to allow us to pull it tight. Now, I don't like doing it tight straight away. I do actually like to wait until I get to the next round, slip stitch, and then we're going to pull it tight. Okay, so let's double check. Let's pull this out, make sure that we've got 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 is where our single crochet, our stitch marker is. I cannot word today, sorry, I'm bumping the tripod as well, seriously. Okay, normally on a project we would slip stitch into this first stitch to complete the circle. but we're actually going to be working totally in the round. So we're not going to slip stitch into anything today. We're just going to keep working, which is why it's really, really important to use your slip stitch. Okay, so we're now going to work a single crochet into where we've got our stitch marker. So I'm just going to pop, again I'm wrapping for a double crochet. The last project I've just put down as was all double crochet, so got double crochet in the brain. So we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch. 1, 2, I'll just have to count back again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This one here, because if I had worked into that space there, that's our chain, and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to work 2 single crochets into that same stitch, but I'm going to replace my stitch marker straight away so that I know where I've started, and in that same space I'm going to do another single crochet. So that's 2 into that stitch, and we're going to do that. I'm just going to pull some more off my yarn. We're going to do 2 single crochets into every stitch all the way around. So 1. Now this yarn is kind of hard to see, but you can sort of feel where your stitches are. So 2 into this one, and we'll pull it apart. There's my stitch. 2 into this one, pull it apart, find that stitch, find the gap. 2 into this one. If you're not sure how to do single crochets, I do have another video on in my playlist on how to do all the basic stitches. So 2 into that stitch, 2 into the next. So by the end of this, you should have 22 stitches all together. 1 and 2. So 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Let's pull it apart. So I've got 2 more stitches to go, because we're going to stop before we get to the stitch marker. So 2 into this one, 1 and 2, and last one, 1 and 2. So pull your yarn up, and I'm going to count my stitches. It looks really weird, like how is that going to be a sock? Oh my gosh, trust me, it will. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh, hang on, go back and count again. So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Awesome. Okay, so this is the point where I'm actually going to take my tail, turn it over, take your tail, and I'm going to pull that tight. Aha. Okay, so there we go. Turn it back over, and your hole has closed. Okay, so we're now going to do a single crochet, 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. Now as we do this, we're going to be working for different sizes. Okay, so for a small size sock, you're going to do 14 more rows of just single crochet into every stitch all the way around. Sorry, I'm bumping the tripod again. If you want to do a medium size sock, it's 15 rows single crochet all the way around. Large is 16 rows single crochet all the way around, and an extra large sock is 17 rows single crochet all the way around. Okay, now can I suggest that you either have a little page, let me just, so to do this I'm actually going to use my notebook. Oh, don't drop my furls hook, oh my goodness. Lucky they're sturdy and made of metal. And now I'm throwing my project on the floor as well. Okay, so don't forget to mark how many rows you've done each time you complete a round. So I'm just going to use my little book to do tally marks. So if I'm going to, the size I'm going to do at the moment is a medium. So every time I do a row, I've already done my rows. I need 15 more rows to complete my medium. So every time I do a row, I'm just going to do a tally mark. And I'll stop when I get to 15 rows. Okay, so now I've collected everything off the floor. Alright, so we're going to work single crochets all the way around. I'm doing me size medium, so I'm going to be doing 15 rows. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out, going to work one single crochet into that first stitch. I did a double. Oh goodness gracious, too many projects on the go, see. Okay, single crochet, I'm going to single crochet into that stitch and find my little yarn here, that one and that one, and I'm going to single crochet. So one, and I'm going to put my stitch marker back in so I know when I get back to the beginning. Stretch it apart because otherwise you might miss that next stitch, but it's there. So 1, 2, 3, just single crochet all the way around, 4, 5, 6, 7. So just continue this all the way around until you get your 22 single crochets into that row, and you're going to stop, put your final single crochet into the stitch that's before your stitch marker. Now I just want to do this first round with you, so while I'm completing this, can I just ask if you could hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, doesn't cost anything, and also hit that notification bell, because every time I put something up on YouTube, it will notify you. Come and have a look, see what I'm up to, see if you want to jump in and join in on the project, and just leave me a comment below whether you like this tutorial, whether you've made socks before, if you are a knitter, would you prefer knitting or crocheting your socks? Again, I can knit. I find it very frustrating, it takes a long time, but the stitches are awesome when you're knitting. So, alright, so I've just gotten around to my last stitch. I'm going to just count and make sure. 1, 2, 3. Now let's just stitch them apart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Beautiful. So I have 22 stitches, and I'm going to put a tally mark in my book. So I have done. So I'm doing a size medium. I need 15 altogether. So here is my first one. Okay, so pause the video here and I'll meet you back after you've done the number of rows that you need to do for your size, and I'll show you the next part. Okay, so I'm up to row 15, pop my stitch marker out. marker back in. Two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. How did you go with your big sausage of crochet? It's amazing how something so simple as single crochet can turn into a tube that will be a sock. Okay, that's a pretty little bird singing outside there. Okay, and we're back to the beginning. Awesome. So this is what your tube will look like. There it is. So make sure you mark off. I have done my 15 rows. Okay, now to start the next part, we're actually going to still single crochet, but we're going to single crochet only into the next 16 stitches. Okay, so sorry about that, bumping the tripod again. Okay, so we're going to go 1, place your stitch marker back in that stitch, and then 15 more, so we need 16 altogether. 1, 2, 3. Oh, my yarn is caught. A good tip that I have found, so I'm going to take that right out of there, is that if you're struggling, if your yarn is pulling against you, your yarn is telling you there's something wrong. So I must have got caught on a previous stitch or a ply from something else. So always listen to your yarn. It always tries to tell you if there's something not quite right. And now I've lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get some more yarn. 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, so this is where there's a small gap now between where we started and our 16th stitch. So that part there is going to be the opening of where your foot's going to go. Okay, so we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn our work, and we're going to single crochet 16 across back to our stitch marker over here. Alright, so let's go. We're going to go straight back into that very first stitch and single crochet back across that row. So if you're just learning, I bet you're getting good at single crochet right now, hey? Simple as putting it into the stitch, capturing your yarn, pulling it through, yarn over, and through the 2 loops on your hook. So we want the 16. Don't really have to count because we're going all the way back to our stitch marker at the beginning. Okay, I like this part because you can really start to see your sock taking shape. And then the heel part. When we join it up, that's the, oh, woohoo, it worked moment. There's a couple of moments in making this where you think, is that going to work? What is that? Alright, so back to our number 16 stitch. Sorry about that. So we're going to pop it in here. Okay. Okay, so we're going to chain 1 and turn our work again. Now, it's single crochet back and forth, And again, the different sizes are going to have different number counts for the rows. So if you're doing a small, you're going to do 7 more rows back and forth of the single crochet. If you're doing a medium, which is what I'm doing, I'm going to be doing 8 more rows. If you're doing a large, you're going to be doing 9 more rows. And if you're doing an extra large, you're going to be doing 10 more rows. Okay, so I'm on here. Again, I'm a medium, and let me just double check what I just told you. Medium is 8 rows, so 8 more rows from what we've just done. I need to do 8. So I'm going to do my tally marks across here so that I know I've got the right number of stitches. Okay, so it's just simple single crochet again. So we've done our chain 1. We're going to turn our work, single crochet back into that very first stitch. So single crochet, and I'll see you back here. Oh, I need some more yarn. You can see that my yarn's starting to change colour too. So I will see you back here at the end of your allocated number of rows. In my case, it will be 8 rows. So I will see you shortly. Alright, I am up to row 8. So I've chained 1, turn my work, single crochet all the way across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My yarn is stuck. 11, 12. Can you hear the dogs? One of the dogs having a big drink. It's Maynard having a big drink of water outside. That's great. That means he's going to come over to me because he's just been outside and he's going to be all drooly. Hey, Lily. All right. So there is my 8. So I've got 8. I've done my 15. I've done my 8. And now we're about to close it up. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to make my loop a bit bigger. But I'm actually going to, so we want to join this part here, okay? Because that's going to be our heel. Now, I kind of want to turn it inside out because what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch down the back to join it up. So I'm going to go into my first, oh, now they're going to have food. I'm sorry, I just have to go and check on the dogs. Seriously, it's like having 2 children in this house. Okay, so we've turned it inside out, so we've got our right sides facing together. And I'm going to go into my first stitch here on this corner, grab my loop and tighten it up, and I'm going to bring it through. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the next stitch on this side and the next stitch on that side, capture my yarn and bring it through, and I'm going to slip stitch that together. Okay, so there's no yarn over or anything. So then I'm going to go to the next stitch on this side and the next stitch on that side, capture my yarn and pull it through the loop on my hook. So we're just slip stitching this seam together. So again, don't be afraid, stretch it out a little bit so that you can see where the stitches are. I've already worked into this one, so I know I've got to go into the next one. Capture your yarn, bring it through, and bring it through the yarn on your hook. Okay, so this way and this one, bring it through. So this way here, because we've turned it inside out, our slip stitch, our seam will be on the inside. So, and we're going to bring it through, capture it. We're going to do a chain stitch, make a tail. Oh, where are my scissors? Snip it off and pull it all the way through. Pull it nice and tight, and then we will sew that in. Okay, so that's on the inside. This is our seam on the outside. Grass and dirt, and I always say my life is dust and dog hair. Okay, so that's our little socky so far. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our seam and find a place. I'm going to make a slip knot on my hook. I'm going to take it off. So I've got the loop in this hand. I'm going to find the place, and I'm probably going to go on the right hand side. I'm going to find a hole, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to put my slip knot back onto my yarn, hold my tail on the inside, and I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to chain one to lock it into place, and then back into that same stitch I'm going to do a single crochet. So yarn through. How good are we at single crochets by now, right? Yarn over and pull it through 2 loops, and again I'm going to use my stitch marker to mark my first stitch. I might have to make that a bit bigger so I can see what I'm doing. Where's my V? There it is. So I know when I get back to here, I have completed that row. Now I'm going to hold my tail and I'm going to work over it as we go around, okay? So I'm going to find a hole on the other side, and I'm going to hold my tail over the working part, the sock, find my working end, and I'm going to do a single crochet. So I'm going to do a single crochet into every stitch. Now, because this is the side of the stitch, because remember we were working this way, we are going to be working into the ends where we chained 1 until we get to about here, and then it starts turning back into chain stitches, which is our single crochets, which is really easy to find our stitch. So we just want it to be kind of even. There's no right or wrong. We've done 10 rows all together, so really we should be doing 10 single crochets to here and 10 single crochets along here. If you don't have that many, it's going to be fine. So just try and go into the hole where each end of the row is and do a single crochet, working over that tail, and we're going to get down to where we have our opening for our ankle. So we're just easy peasy finding that hole. Okay, so I'm going to leave that little bit of tail out, and I'm just going to keep working into each one of these holes, which is the end of our rows, and just doing a single crochet into each one, and then all of a sudden you're going to go, oh, look, it's a stitch. Not quite there yet, but here we are now. So here's our V's. We can see where our stitches are. We can just work straight into them all the way across. I need some more yarn. Oh, stuck. There we go. Oh, my lovely wind chimes are going to town out there. So we're just going to single crochet all the way around just to neaten that edge up. So stretch it out so you can see where your stitch is. And I'm going to say that that's probably my last one across, and then we're just going to go into the gaps where our the ends of our rows work. And just single crochet all the way back up the side until we get to our stitch marker. And almost there. And one more. Awesome. Now I am going to slip stitch into that first single crochet that we did, just to make the edge nice and even. So I'm just going to do a slip stitch. So I'm going through the stitch, capturing the yarn, pulling it through and pulling it through the loop on our hook, which makes a nice flat surface. Now to finish it off, you could leave it there if you want, but I really like 3 rows of the single crochet around the top to make it finished. So I am just going to do a chain. I'm going to go back into that space and I'm going to do a single crochet in there. Put my stitch marker in so I know where my end is. And I'm just going to single crochet all the way around. Somebody's starting to snore over there. It sounds like a Maynard snore. Okay, so we should have, but you can see that I'm not counting. I'm not particularly worried about it, but we should have the same amount of stitches on one side as the other. But this single crochet edging just really finishes it off, makes everything look nice and neat. Just comes up your ankle a little bit higher to make it a little bit more secure, especially if your little sockies are a touch too big for the person that you're making them for. It just makes it a little bit more secure on the ankle. And we're nearly there. Oh. Find that stitch. This yarn, I was a little worried at the start that it was a bit fuzzy and it might be a bit hard to work with. Luckily I haven't had to frog it, and it's been quite okay. So absolute bargain. I got 2 huge balls of this in the Mill Ends at Spotlight a couple of weeks ago, and it was $10, and I've already made 2 other pairs of sockies and a beanie out of it, and I'm still working in the first ball that I got. Actually, there's 3 balls in that bag. Okay, so I'm going to, is there another stitch? Yes, there is. See, always make sure that you're pulling your stitches apart. Find that last stitch. Beautiful. And I'm going to slip stitch into the beginning stitch. And again, you could end it here. Oh my gosh, so sorry about that tripod. Oh, take it out. I can feel that my yarn is caught somewhere. So okay, that's better. So slip stitch, and you could finish it here, but I'm going to go 1 more row because, like I said, I really do like the way the 3 rows of single crochet just finishes everything off. Just going to put my stitch marker in there. And 1 more row. Last lot of single crochets. But guess what? You have to do it all over again so you've got a matching pair. The really good thing I like about these is it's so simple. It's just single crochets. The hardest part is just making sure that you use your stitch marker and that you do the tally marks for each row that you're on to make sure that you end up with the right size, and that you follow that whatever you did for the first one for the second one. And I've been crocheting like mad for the last probably 3 weeks, and my fingers are getting a little bit sore. I do have arthritis in my right hand, and especially in my little finger, which is why I'm using my Furls hook, because it's ergonomic and it's built for that. It's weighted, it's heavy, but it just sits in my hand so smoothly, so nicely, that when I am struggling, that the shape and the weight just makes my life so much easier. Alright, we're almost at the end. And then all we have left to do for this is just to sew in those ends. And luckily there's only one at the toe, one where we slip stitched our back together, and the 2 bits that form here. Well, there's my one down here. I'm just going to get my needle and thread it back. I'll show you when we get there. And then we're done. I can whip out a pair of socks, in about 2 hours. If I, like I said, sitting there and Mr. David is watching, I don't know, whatever the heck is he watches on TV sometimes. And I'm sitting there in the chair beside him, keeping him company, and I'm just crocheting away. Okay, last one. Going to, sorry, bringing that very close to the camera, aren't I? Slip stitch into that last stitch that we just did here. Oh, I missed it. There we go. And slip stitch, do a chain, pull a tail, snip it, pull it all the way through, give it a bit of a tug, not too tight because you don't want to distort. And there is your first little sockie. See what I mean about the 3 rows of single crochet just to finish it off. And if you have a look on the inside, so our 3 rows, that's where we started with our tail. So if we only did that one, it'd only look like that, which is fine, but like I said, I really like that. It makes it feel more secure. Okay, so our last job is to sew in our ends. So I'm going to grab my big-eyed tapestry needle, and I'm going to, here's a trick, don't try and put the ends in, it doesn't work. If you take your needle, put it on the side, grab your yarn and make a loop over the top, squish it together, and it will go through the eye of the needle so easily. I'll do that again over here on the white. So just fold your yarn over your needle and give it a pinch, and it will go through the eye of the needle. Doesn't matter if your yarn is thick or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down into that V-stitch, but I'm going to do the back loop only so that I can take it to the inside, and I'm just going to give that a little bit of a pull so that you can't actually see where the join is. So again, I'm going to flip this on the inside a little bit, and I'm going to, sorry, I had to push my glasses up, and I'm just going to work my way down underneath the stitches, through some of the plies of yarn if you can, because that just helps it to be a little bit more secure. You're going to have to do a few and pull it through. Now again, don't pull it too tight because you'll distort the edge of your sock. And I'm just going to go down to the next one, and I'm just going to go back up. Rule of 3 is always a good thing. I'm not actually going to take it all the way out to right to the edge. I'm going to stop there because I don't want to, again, distort my edge, and pull that through. Not too tight. And I'm going to go back one more, go through a different loop. Try not to go through to the front, and I'm probably going to take that down as far as I can go. Make it difficult, why don't you? Alright, so I'm going to pull it through to there, and I'm just going to find an easier place, but I'm going to take this piece of yarn and I'm going to take it down to as far as I can to the bottom of the sock. It's not going to make any difference to the front as long as you don't go through too deep. Okay. I've got some things caught on the finer stuff. And take it all the way down. I'm actually going to cross over to the other side so I don't interfere with when I'm sewing up this other loose end. Okay, and so I'm just going to trim that off nice and tight. Again, don't pull because it will distort. Just give it a little snip. Okay, about to do the same with this and work my way back up. Okay, so again, just folding your yarn over the top of your needle. Give it a bit of a pinch and back and forth, and it'll go through the eye of the needle very easily. I'm actually going to take this down first, just to close that gap, and then I'm going to work my way back up under my stitches. Doesn't have to be very far. And then I'm going to work my way back up, so you go under a different loop so it doesn't undo itself. I'm going to go back this way. That brown piece just doesn't want to play. And I'm feeling with my finger on the other side just to make sure that I'm not coming through to the right side. Yep. And then I'm just going to work my way up, find a spot to go in. Anywhere there will do. And wherever I can, I'm just going to work my way right back up to the top, except, of course, I'm not going to go right through to the very, very top. And that'll do. Pull that through. Give it a snip. Awesome. And you'll never know. That seems pretty cool on the outside, isn't it? It's nice and flat. It's there's no bumpy stuff on the inside either. And so now I'm going to, so this is the end, the tail end that we worked back this way. So I'm actually going to work my needle under some of these stitches first, and then see if I can get my yarn into the eye, and then I'll just pull it through, and however much is left is hanging out. Oh, that's not going to work. Let's go with, do I have a thinner one? I do. Hold that thought. Well, it's not necessarily thinner, but it's another one that I can work with. Now, I've seen that you can actually buy hooks, needles that have like a plastic eye at the end, and so what you do, and it's flexible, so what you can do is thread your needle through like this, open up the plastic end, the plastic eye, thread your yarn through like I just did, and pull it through. I need to get myself some of those. One of the Canadian channels, her name is, her YouTube name is Jada in Stitches. She uses them and I want some. So I'm just going to work that through. Just work out which end it is that you've got to pull. Give it a bit of a wriggle. So it's not too tight, give that a clip. And of course our last one is down here in our toe. Now, I like doing these ones because I like magic circles, because all you got to do is go around a couple of times where you began, and it just fits in beautifully and it will not come out. So again, just going to thread my yarn through. Use my fingers and the other side to make sure that I'm not poking through. So you can see that it's worked this way. It's come from this direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to poke it under the stitch before that, and I'm going to work it back the other way, if I can get this in. And I'm just going to work it back the other way. Now you got to remember there are 11 stitches around this little tiny circle, so sometimes it's a little hard, but it also helps you to keep your magic circle closed nice and tightly. So I'll pull that out. So yeah, shout out to Jada in Stitches. She's got me going for a little bit of FOMO. I really want to find some of those needles that have got that plastic eye on them, because I think that's just going to be so much easier. I think they might even have a point on the end too. Okay, I'm not sure about that stitch, so I just want to make sure I'm staying in my circle. Just going to pull it nice and tight. Give that a clip. And that, my lovelies, is a socky. Okay, so jump on in, make another one, and thank you for watching. Again, hit the like button, leave a comment if you're planning on making some, what size you're going to make, who you're going to make it for. Might be just for yourself. Like I've said before, if you've been around for a little while, we actually live in a shed, so our floor is pretty grotty, but it's just concrete floor, so it's quite gets quite cold in the winter. So we've both got some of these. We just wander around the shed in. They're really quite comfortable. The material's quite dense, so it keeps it warm. This is acrylic. You can make it out of wool. I'm guessing this is acrylic because it feels like acrylic. It doesn't feel like wool, doesn't smell like wool. That makes it good because I can, with ours, I just throw them in a cool wash and I just tumble dry them on low. Of course, if you make it out of wool, you can't do that. But I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I'm going to jump in and make another one, see if I can make my my yarn match so the colour changes are the same. My dad makes fun of me because when I make them out of variegated yarn like this, your socks don't match. It doesn't matter. It's not a fashion show. Maybe I'm being a trendsetter, you know, wearing different coloured socks. Alright, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye! Thanks again for watching. Click the like button if you like what you've seen today, and leave a comment below. Have I inspired you to have a go at your own project? Remember to click on the subscribe icon and also the notification bell so you'll know when I post my next video. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!